Hey all, Ortheo here. So bit of a different video format to the previous one. The previous one was much more scripted. I was looking at high level matches and kind of breaking them down. I was planning on doing game 2 of the series between Roses and Hansuki. However, it just got to be too much work. I decided it wasn't really kind of worth my time. And on top of that, the laptop I was using to edit decided it didn't want to cooperate with my editing software, and I was just like, stuff it, not happening. So I am going to try a bit of a different format. I'll be looking at my own matches and kind of going over kind of what happened, what I could have done better, and I'll be doing it live rather than kind of scripting things. So yeah, the goal here is to cut down on the amount of time I put into these videos, because like it's just just something I do on the side, and it's not viable if it chews up too much time. So let's get into it. So I'm facing off against Umbra. So Zam Jinx, and they switch out to Executor. That's really weird. Kind of the main reason you would want to use Jinx is because it consistently gets sleep off against the paralysis leads, so Zam and Starmie, and Jinx. But Jinx is... Wait, no, what am I saying? Jolteon, that's what I'm thinking of, but Jolteon's pretty rare. Anyway, they switch out, get a bit of luck with Zam against this Executor, and get it down to 50%. That's kind of the thing. There was no reason to be switching out there. Like, Jinx works just fine, kind of taking things on, taking the paralysis leads on. So I'm not sure what they gained there. But anyway, I'm going to stay in with Zam and go out to my Chansey. The reason I stay in with Zam for one turn is, like, that's kind of a gamble. Like, Alakazam, it comfortably wakes up on Executor. So I can burn sleep turns. I was guessing that they would stay in. They might not have. They could have gone to Lax or Tauros or whatever. But definitely after I've shown that I'm staying in for one turn, they're going to be like, time to send in my Snorlax and Tauros after that first turn. So that's why I stayed in for one turn, then switched. Anyway, I get Chansey in, set up Reflect. And at this point, Umbra's going to switch out because there's not really anything they can do. And they go to their own Chansey, and we have a Freeze War, but it doesn't end very well for me, does it? Yeah, that's kind of rough. That sets me back, but like early freezes, they are possible to come back from. So you can see I stayed in with Chansey just to see what Umbra would do. They stayed in, so I went to Zam. Zam obviously can wake up against Chansey. However, that obviously I was just double switching there because a sleeping Zam waking up against Chansey, I knew they were going to punish. So that was an opportunity to bring in my Gengar. So here I went for the Hypnosis. And as you can see, I'm going to stay in, go for the Nightshade, and get the KO on the Executor. The reason I went for the Hypnosis rather than predicting an Executor switch in is because I could still KO it reasonably safely. Because I can afford to live one Psychic, and I knew Nightshade 2-hit KO'd. And like I just wasn't sure if Umbra would go to Executor. That's the thing, because their Executor, if I'd predicted that switch in, it would have died for nothing, and it would have gotten sleep off regardless. So they might not have gone to Executor. I thought Hypnosis it covered both options a bit more. However, it's still not optimal if they're switching an Executor that I can KO if I predict a switch. So I don't know. Like, I think it was a rational decision, but at the same time, clearly not the best. Anyway, they're going to send in Jinx. I go for the Hypnosis and miss. So that feels kind of important to me. Especially because, as you can see, I've got Starmie ready to switch in. So Hypnosis was definitely a gamble there. Obviously, the odds are in my favor because it's a 60% accuracy move. But, like, I had Starmie. Like, that's a 100% counter to Jinx. I could have gone to Starmie and then They probably would have gone Chansey. I could have then brought Gengar in there, potentially. Still, I mean, it still would have been risky. Like, Gengar at 40%, everything that's safe still 2-hit KOs it. So Chansey, I would have been able to live 1 hit, but that would have been it. So it would have been difficult getting Sleep Off. I would have probably needed to get a free switch in to get anything better than what I had against Jinx. Because yeah, Jinx, obviously I get 1 Hypnosis, and if I miss, then Gengar's dead. If I'd switched Gengar into Chansey, I probably would have taken Paralysis or Damage. Either one of those would have greatly reduced my chances of landing Hypnosis, and yeah, it wouldn't have been beneficial. So, I mean, staying in with Gengar, it's still risky because I did have Starmie that's 100% safe, but at the same time, it's questionable whether going to Starmie would have actually produced any benefit. Probably the best play would have been to go to Starmie and then double back out to Gengar as they brought their Chansey in. In any case, yeah, so that exchange there, like, obviously with Gengar down, like that's the thing about this team. You can see I'm not running Exeggutor. Gengar is my only sleeper. And also, this Starmie doesn't have Blizzard, so the only possible status I could have landed that isn't Paralysis is a Tauros Blizzard, which isn't reasonable to go for. So I have to Paralyze to get anything done. That's why I go for the Paralysis against Chansey. Follow up with Snorlax because that's just obvious. It's what you do. Yeah. So, yeah, at this point, okay, that's kind of significant. They stayed in with Snorlax, and then, my god, they went out to Jinx. Oh, what? Because I did watch this battle back, and later on in the match, I'd played it a bit cautiously. Like, later on, you'll see that I need to basically have my Tauros go on a rampage in order to win, and I played it really cautiously because I was like, oh, maybe their Snorlax has Reflect, but like, seeing this exchange where their Snorlax comes in, attacks, I set up Reflect, and they don't do anything. Like, if they're not Reflect Lax, the next most logical option is Attack Lax with Self-Destruct. So, and if they had Reflect, they would have used it here rather than going to Jinx. I mean, Jinx, of all things, it's a terrible Snorlax switch-in. So, these two turns, turn 18, turn 19, they should have been a dead giveaway that their Snorlax was not Reflect, probably Attack Lax. So that's worth bearing in mind. Anyway, crit on the Jinx, that's lucky, but it's not terribly important. The Jinx was going to die anyway. Zapdos is an absolute nightmare matchup for this team because Starmie doesn't have Blizzard, which means I don't even have... Starmie can't even hit it super effectively. Yeah, that was actually... The premise behind Gengar rather than Exeggutor was I figured Exeggutor kind of compounds a Zapdos weakness, whereas Gengar does not. That's why I picked Gengar. Not the best reasoning. There was also, like, the first conclusion I came to actually was to run Jolteon lead, but then that locked me into a big 4-team structure because I think if you're running Jolteon, you have to run Exeggutor just to respond to Alakazam. And I was like, nah, screw the big 4, I don't want it. So I ran Gengar over Exeggutor, which maybe not the best option, but I don't know, this team's still something I'm tinkering with. Anyway, so Zapdos is a huge problem. I basically have to go one-on-one with Lax, and unfortunately I get haxed. Yeah, and you can see here that I'm already banking on Tauros going on a rampage, because why else would I send Starmie in here? Like, Starmie obviously gets ripped to shreds by Zapdos. It's faster and it can paralyze, but that's about it. So using it here is not an effective way to use Starmie, but I've got to preserve Tauros. That's kind of my thing. Yeah, so go for the Psychic here, get their Zapdos weakened, and I lose my Starmie in the process. So at this point, I need Tauros to go on a rampage. Yeah, this is what I was referring to earlier when I was looking at their Snorlax. First, we're going to get the Ditto. Obviously, that's not terribly interesting. I get lucky and end up winning it. Actually, end up winning it big, 73%. Like, I only took one Body Slam. That is huge. And yeah, I would have still needed luck to win because their Snorlax is at 76%. That's more than enough to finish off my Tauros. And Chansey, I would have beaten anyway. Yeah, they're going to go Snorlax. That's interesting. Why did they go Body Slam here? That's what I'd like to know. That's probably just suboptimal play on their part. Hold on, let me calculate this. I'm sure 100% that Snorlax Self-Destruct would have KO'd Tauros from there, but don't worry, it's just my mic that I'm destroying. Yeah, 80. Yeah, so they should have gone for self-destruct. Oh no, what am I saying? Of course they wouldn't, because Alakazam would have woken up on Chansey. So that's why they kind of wanted to preserve their Snorlax. That was stupid of me. Why did I think that? Yeah, so here I go for the Body Slam. I should have gone for the Hyper Beam. I needed the Hyper Beam crit because, as you can see, even with the Body Slam crit, Snorlax wasn't KO'd. And they went for the Hyper Beam and finished off my Tauros. Now, Body Slam was a perfectly rational option if I thought they didn't have Hyper Beam, but they did. And I should have known that from those two turns earlier in the match where their Snorlax didn't set up Reflect. It's not foolproof, but it was a pretty clear indicator that they did have Hyper Beam. So I should have gone for the Hyper Beam here and just hoped for a crit. If it had crit, I would have won the game. However, I didn't go for the Hyper Beam here, and so I lose. Yeah, and he finishes off the Alakazam. Wake was like one turn too late, so it doesn't really matter. And yeah, that's game. So I did get a bit unlucky in that match, but it was nothing I couldn't have overcome. So I think key turns for me was pretty much everything I did with Gengar. I think my decision-making process with Gengar, like, they weren't the wrong decisions, they just were wrong. Like, my rationale behind them, I think, was solid. But that's not what my opponent did. And that's the thing with RBY and Pokemon in general. It's a double-blind game, so, you know, you're going to have, when selecting a move, you're going to be considering risk and reward. How can I hedge my bets kind of thing. That all means nothing if your opponent doesn't do what you expect them to do. That's just a fact of the game. So I could have played Gengar differently, but like I said, I think my rationale was okay. Definitely the biggest issue, and also the risk taking against Jinx. Like I said, it's unclear whether I would have been able to. Yeah, the best play would have been to switch out to Starmie and then immediately double back to Gengar, as there's no way they would have left their Jinx in against Starmie, and in all likelihood they would have gone to Chansey, which I could have slept, or Snorlax, which I still could have slept, but I'm running the same risk as against Jinx, where if I'd missed, the Snorlax would have KO'd my Gengar. But anyway, yeah, definitely I should have gone to Starmie because it's 100% safe, and then at that point it would have been obvious they weren't leaving their Jinx in. I could have gone to Gengar. That's what I could have done differently there. That's not something I'm going to try defend. It's a play I really should have seen, but I didn't. And then, as mentioned, there was those 2 turns with the Snorlax Ditto where I simply should have picked up on the fact that they weren't using Reflect, which means the next most likely option is that they're 4 attacks. And I didn't pick up on that, which meant I didn't make the right gamble with Tauros. Might not have meant anything. My Tauros might not have gotten lucky. But I wasn't in a position because I selected the wrong move. So, yeah, that's the game. This was actually my first tournament match back since I took a break of several months due to like mental health reasons. So definitely I would say there's a bit of rust here, but you know, at the end of the day I just didn't play well enough, and I've got to improve. That's kind of why I'm doing these videos. So I can go over them and improve, and it's also something that is a bit more expedient to make in terms of content. In any case, thank you for watching. Let me know if you've got any constructive feedback, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.